Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, can I present you my Bhagavad Gita PPT?
Yeah, actually, we have to start with the pranam mantra. Who is going to sing?
Mataji, I will.
Yes, please continue.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaya Kadamayyam Dadanti Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Vedadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Sai Kitika will wait for other participants also to join. So then we can discuss. Okay. Yeah. Please start reading.
Mataji, shall I start?
Yes.
Qualities of Krishna further explain. 31 point heroic. A person who is very enthusiastic in military activities and expert in releasing different kind of weapon is called heroic. Regarding Krishna, heroism is fighting. There is the following statement: my dear killer of the enemy, just as the elephant while taking the bath in a lake destroy all the lotus stems with enough water by swinging its trunk, so simply by moving your arms, which are compared to the trunks of elephants, you have killed so many lotus-like enemies. Regarding Krishna expertise in releasing weapons, when Jarasandh and 13 division of soldiers attacked Krishna's army, they were unable to hurt even one soldier on the side of the Krishna. This is due to Krishna's expert military training. This is a unique in the history of military art. Compassionate. A person who is unable to bear another distress is called compassionate. Krishna compassion for distressed person was exhibited when he released all of the kings imprisoned by Magdhendra. While dying, grandfather Bhishma prayed to Krishna and described him as a sun that eradicated darkness. My kings imprisoned by Magadhendra were put into dark cells, and when Krishna appeared there the darkness immediately disappeared, just as if the sun have risen. In other words, although Madhavendra was unable to imprison so many kings, upon the appearance of Krishna, they were all released. Krishna released the kings out of his sincere compassion for them. Krishna compassion was also exhibited when grandfather Vishnu was lying on the bed of arrows, which had been shot through his body. While lying in this position, Vishnu was very anxious to see Krishna, and thus Krishna appeared there. Upon seeing the pitiable condition of Bhishma, Krishna began speaking with tears in his eyes. Not only was he shedding tears, but also forgot himself in his compassion. Therefore, instead of offering obeisances to Krishna directly, devotees offer obeisances to its compassionate nature. Actually, because Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, it is a very difficult to approach him. But the devotees, taking advantage of his compassionate nature, which is represented by Radharani, always pray to Radharani for Krishna compassion. Respectful. A person who shows adequate respect to a spiritual master, a Brahman, and an older person is to be understood as being respectful. When superior person assembled before Krishna, Krishna first of all offered respect to his spiritual master, then to his father, and then to his elder brother, Balram. In this way, Lord Krishna, the lotus eyed, was completely happy and pure at heart in all of his dealings. Gentle. Any person who neither become impudent nor exhibits a perfulled of nature is called gentle. The example of Krishna's gentle behavior was manifested when he was coming to the arena of the Rajasoya sacrifice arranged by Maharaja Yudhishthir. Krishna's older cousin Maharaj Yudhishthira knew that Krishna was the supreme personality of Godhead, and he was attempting to go down from the chariot to receive Krishna. But before Yudhishthir could get down, Lord Krishna down from his own chariot and immediately fell at the feet of the king. Even though Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, he never forgets to show special etiquette in his dealings. Liberal. Any person who is by his natural behavior very mild is called liberal. A statement by Uddhav after the
Shamantaka.
Shamantaka jewel plundering confirms that Krishna is so kind and favorable that if the server is accused even of great offenses, Krishna does not take this into consideration. He simply considered the service that is rendered by his devotees. Shy, a person who sometimes exhibits humility and bashfulness is called shy. As described in a Lalita Madhava, Krishna's shyness was manifested when he lifted Govardhan hill by the little finger of his left hand. All the gopis were observing Krishna's wonderful achievement, and Krishna was also smiling at seeing this gopi. When Krishna's glance went over the breast of the gopis, his hand began to shake, and upon seeing his hand shake, all the coward man underneath the hill became a little disturbed. Then there was a tumultuous roaring sound. They all began to pray to Krishna for safety. At this time, Lord Balram was smiling, thinking, and these coward men had been frightened by the shaking of Govardhan hill. But seeing Balrama smile, Krishna thought that Balram had understood his mind in observing the breast of the gopis and immediately being bashful. Protector of surrendered soul. Krishna is a protector of all surrendered soul. Some enemies of Krishna was enlivened with the thought that he didn't fear Krishna because if he simply surrendered it onto him, Krishna would give him all protection. Krishna is sometimes compared to the moon, which does not hesitate to disturb its suitings, rays even on the houses of the Kandalas and other untouchables. Happy. Any person who is always joyful and unattached by any distress is called happy. As far as Krishna's enjoyment is concerned, it is stated that the ornaments that decorated the bodies of Krishna and his queens were beyond the dreams of Kuvara, the treasure of the heavenly kingdom. The constant dancing before the door of Krishna palaces was not to be imagined even by the demigods in the heavenly kingdom. In the heavenly kingdom, Indra always sees the dancing of the society girl, but even Indra could not imagine how beautiful were the dances, were the dances being performed at the gates of Krishna palaces. Gauri means white women, and Lord Shiva wife is called Gauri. The beautiful women residing within the places of Krishna was so much whiter than Gauri that they were compared to the moonshine and they were constantly visible to Krishna. Therefore, no one can be enjoying more than Krishna. The conception of enjoyment is beautiful women, ornaments, and riches, and all of these were fabulously present in the places of Krishna, defeating even the imagination of Kuvera, Lord Indra, and Lord Shiva. Not even the slight distress, not even a slight distress can touch Krishna. Once some of the gopis went to the place where the Brahmins were performing sacrifice and said, "Dear wives of the Brahmanas, you must know that not even a slight smell of distress can touch Krishna. He knows no loss. He knows no defamation. He has no fear. He has no anxiety. He is not known calamity. He is simply encircled by the dancers of Raja and is enjoying their company in the Rasa dance. Well-wishers of his devotees. It is said to Krishna's devotees that if they offer even a little water or a tulsi leaf in devotion to Lord Vishnu is so kind that he will sell himself to them. Krishna's favoritism towards his devotee was exhibited in the fight with Bhishma. When grandfather Bhishma was lying at the point of death on the bed of arrows, and Krishna was present before him, and Bhishma was remembering how Krishna had been kind to him on the battlefield. Krishna had promised that in the battle of Kurukshetra, he will not even touch a weapon to help either side. He will remain neutral Although Krishna was Arjuna's charioteer, he had promised that he will not help Arjun by using any weapons. But one day Bhishma, in order to nullify Krishna's promise, exhibited his fighting spirit so magnificently against Arjuna, that Krishna was obliged to get down from his chariot. Taking up a broken chariot wheel, he ran toward grandfather Bhishma's lion run towards an elephant to kill it. Grandfather Bhishma remembered this scene, and he later praised Krishna for his glorious favoritism towards his devotees. Arjuna, even at the risk of breaking his own promise, controlled by love.
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
becomes-
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mata.
Yeah. So I think most of these are self-explanatory. We'll just continue with the reading. Somebody else
Yes,
can start
Mataji.
the reading.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Is it audible?
Yes, it is audible.
Okay. 40. Controlled by love. Krishna becomes obliged to the loving spirit of devotees, not, and not exactly to the service rendered. No one can serve Krishna completely. He is so complete and self-sufficient that he has no need of any service from the devotee. It is the devotee's attitude of love and affection for Krishna that makes him obliged. A very nice example of this obligatory behavior was manifested when Sudama Vipra went to Krishna's palace. Sudama Vipra had been a class friend of Krishna's, and due to his poverty, he was induced by his wife to see Krishna to request him some aid. When Sudama Vipra reached Krishna's palace, Krishna received him very well, and both he and his wife washed the feet of Sudama Vipra. Showing respect to the Brahmana, remembering his love affairs with Sudama in their childhood, Krishna began to shed tears while receiving him. Another instance of Krishna's obligation to his devotee is described in the 10th canto, 9th chapter, verse 18 of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Sukadeva Goswami tells King Parikshit, "My dear king, when Mother Yashoda was perspiring, tired of trying to bind Krishna with rope, Krishna agreed to allow her to bind him. Krishna, as a child, was disturbing his mother, his mother by his naughty activities, and she wanted to bind him up. Mother Yashoda brought some rope from the house and tried to tie up the child, but she could not tie a knot due to the shortness of the rope. She tied together many ropes, but when finished, still the rope was too short. After a while, she felt tired and began to perspire. At that time, Krishna agreed to be bound by his mother. In other words, no one can bind Krishna by any means other than love. He is bound only by obligation to devotees because of their ecstatic love for him. All auspicious. A person who is always engaged in auspicious welfare activities for everyone is known as all auspicious. After the disappearance of Lord Krishna from this planet, Uddhava began to remember the activities of the Lord and said, Krishna satisfied all great sages by his wonderful pastimes. He demolished all the demoniac activities of the cruel royal order, protected all pious men, and killed all cruel fighters on the battlefield. Therefore, he is all auspicious for all men. 42. Most powerful. A person who can always put his enemy into calamities is called powerful. When Krishna was present on this planet, just as the powerful sun drives all darkness to take shelter in caves, he drove away all his enemies who flee like owls to take shelter beyond his sight. 43. All famous. A person who becomes well known due to his spotless character is called famous. It is stated that the diffusion of Krishna's fame is like the moonshine which turns darkness into light. In other words, if Krishna consciousness is preached all over the world, The darkness of ignorance and the anxiety of material existence will turn into the whiteness of purity, peacefulness, and prosperity. When the great sage Narada was chanting the glories of the Lord, the bluish line on the neck of Lord Shiva disappeared. Upon seeing this Gauri, the wife of Lord Shiva suspected Lord Shiva of being someone else disguised as her husband, and out of fear, she immediately left his company. Upon hearing the chanting of Krishna's name, Lord Balrama saw that his dress had become white, although he was generally accustomed to a bluish dress. The cowherd girls saw all the water of Yamuna turn into milk, so they began to churn it into butter. In other words, by spreading of Krishna consciousness or glories of Krishna, everything becomes white and pure. Popular. Any person who is very dear to people in general is called popular man. As for Krishna's popularity, there is a statement in the first canto, 11th chapter, verse 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam that deals with his returning home from the capital of Hastinapur. While he was been absent from Dwarka at the battle of Kurukshetra, or all the citizens of Dwarka had become Moros. Then, when he returned, the citizens joyfully received him and said, "Dear Lord, while you were absent from the city, we passed our days in the darkness of night. As in the darkness of night every moment appears to be a longer duration time, so while you were gone, every moment appeared to us like million of years. Your separation is completely unbearable to us." The statement shows how popular Krishna was all over the country. A similar incident occurred when Krishna entered the arena of sacrifice arranged by King Kamsa for his death. As soon as he entered the palace, all sages began to cry, "Jaya, Jaya, Jaya," which means victory. Krishna was a boy at that time, and all sages offered his respectful blessings to him. The demigods who were present also began to offer beautiful prayers to Krishna, and the ladies and girls present expressed their joy from all corners of the arena. In other words, there was no one in that particular area with whom Krishna was not very popular. Partial to devotees. Although Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and therefore not partial to anyone, it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that he has special attraction for a devotee who worships his name in love and affection. When Krishna was on this planet, one devotee expressed his feeling in this way: "My dear Lord, if you had not appeared on this planet, then the asuras, demons, and the atheists would have surely created a havoc against the activities of the devotees. I cannot imagine the multitude of I cannot imagine the magnitude of such devastation prevented by your presence. From the very beginning of his appearance, Krishna was the greatest enemy of all demoniac people. Although Krishna's enmity towards the demons is actually comparable to his friendship with devotees. This is because any demon who is killed by Krishna receives immediate salvation, very attractive to all women. Any person who has special qualifications becomes immediately very attractive to women. A devotee made this following statement about the queens of Dwarika: "How shall I describe the glories of the queens of Dwarika who were personally engaged in the service of the Lord? The Lord is so great that simply by chanting his name, all the great sages like Narada can enjoy transcendental bliss." So, what can be said about those queens who were at very moment seeing the Lord and serving him personally? Krishna had 16,108 wives in Dwarka, and each and every one of them was attracted to Krishna just as iron is attracted by the magnet. There is a statement by a devotee: "My dear Lord, you are just like a magnet, and all the damsels of Raja are just like iron. In whichever direction you are moving, they are always following you, as iron is attracted by the magnetic force." All worshipable. A person who is respected and worshipped by all kinds of human beings and demigods is called Sarvarajya all worshipable. Krishna is worshipped not only by the living entities, including the great demigods like Indra, Shiva, and Lord Brahma, but also by Vishnu expansions forms of Godhead, such as Baladeva and Sesha. Baladeva is a direct expansion of Krishna, but still accepts Krishna as worshipable. When Krishna is appeared in the arena of the Rajasuya sacrifice organized by Maharaja Yudhishthir to all present, including the great sages and demigods, Krishna became the cynosure, center of attraction, and everyone offered him respect. All opulent. Krishna is full in all opulence, namely strength, wealth, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. When Krishna was present in Dwarka, his family, which is known as the Yadu dynasty, consisted of 560 million members, and all of these family members were very obedient and faithful to Krishna. There were more than 900,000 big partial buildings there to all there to houses all the people, and everyone in them respected Krishna as the most worshipable. Devotees were astonished to see the opulence of Krishna. This was verified in the this was verified by Bilva Mangala Thakura when in the Krishna Karnamrita he addressed Krishna thus: My dear Lord, what can I say about the opulence of your Vrindavan? Simply, the ornament of the legs of the damsels of Vrindavan are more than the Chintamani, and their dresses are as good as the heavenly Parijata flower. And the cows exactly resemble the Surabhi cows in the transcendental abode. Therefore, your opulence is just like an ocean that no one can measure. All honorable. A person who is chief amongst all important persons is called the all honorable. When Krishna was living in Dwarka, demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, the king of heaven, and many others used to come to visit him. The doorkeeper, who had to manage the entrance of all these demigods, one very busy day, said, My dear Lord, Brahma and Shiva, please sit down on this bench and wait. My dear Indra, please decide from reading your prayers. This is creating a disturbance. Please wait silently. My dear Varuna, please go away. And my dear demigods, do not waste your time uselessly. Krishna is very busy. He cannot see you. The
Hare
Supreme
Krishna.
Controller.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Somebody else will read. Yeah. Somebody can continue.
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes.
15. The Supreme Controller. There are two kinds of controllers or lords. One who is independent is called controller, and one whose orders cannot be neglected by anyone is called a controller. Regarding Krishna's complete independence and lordship, Srimad Bhagavatam says that although Kaliya was a great offender, Krishna still favored him by marking his head with his lotus feet, whereas Lord Brahma, although having prayed to Krishna with so many wonderful verses, still could not attract him. This contradictory treatment by Krishna is just benefiting his position because in
Befitting.
all... Huh, Mataji?
Befitting. Not benefiting. It is befitting.
Befitting his position because in all the Vedic literatures he is described as the complete independent. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord is described as Swarat, which means completely independent. That is the position of the Supreme Absolute Truth. The Absolute Truth is only sentiment is not only sentiment but is also complete independent. As for Krishna's orders not being neglected by anyone, in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 2nd chapter, verse 21, Uddhava tells Vidura, Lord Krishna is the master of the three modes of material nature. He is the enjoyer of all opulences and therefore there is no one equal to or greater than him. All the great kings and emperors used to come before him, offer their gifts and pay obeisances with their helmets at the feet of the Lord. One devotee said, "My dear Krishna, when you ordered Brahma, now you may create the universe. And when you order Lord Shiva, now you dissolve this material manifestation. You're, you are in this way creating or dissolving the material creation yourself simply by your orders and by a partial representation of Vishnu. You're maintaining the universe. In this way, O Krishna, O enemy of Kamsa, there are so many Brahmas and Shivas who are simply carrying out your orders." 51. Changeless. Krishna does not change his constitutional position, not even when he appears in this material world. Ordinary living entities have their constitutional spiritual positions covered. They appear in different bodies, and under the different bodily concepts of life they act. But Krishna does not change his body. He appears in his own body and is therefore not affected by the modes of material nature. In the first canto, 11th chapter, verse 38 of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the special prerogative of the Supreme Controller is that he is not affected by the modes of nature. The practical example of this is that devotees who are under the protection of the Lord are also not affected by material nature. To overcome the influence of the material nature is very difficult, but the devotees or the saintly persons who are under the protection of the Lord are not affected. So, what need is there to speak to the Lord Himself? To be more clear, although the Lord sometimes appears in this material world, he has nothing to do with the modes of material nature, and he acts with full independence his transcendental position. This is the special quality of the Lord. 52. All cognizant. Any person who can understand the feelings of all persons and incidents in all places at all time is called cognizant. A nice example of all cognizant quality of the law. Lord is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 15th chapter, verse 11, in connection with Durvasa Muni's visit to the house of the Pandavas in the forest. Following a calculated plan, Duryodhana sent Durvasa Muni and his 10,000 disciples to be the guests of Pandavas in the forest. Duryodhana arranged Durvasa and his men to reach the place of Pandavas just when the Pandavas' lunchtime ended, so that the Pandavas would be caught without sufficient means to feed the large number of guests. Knowing Duryodhana's plan, Krishna came to Pandava and asked his wife Draupadi if there were any remnants of the foods and that she could offer to him. Draupadi offered him a container in which there was only a little fragment of some vegetable preparations, and Krishna at once ate it. At that moment, all of the sages accompanying Durvasa were taking a bath in the river. When Krishna felt satisfaction from eating Draupadi's offering, they also felt satisfaction and their hunger was gone. Because Durvasa Muni and his friends and his men were unable to eat anything more, they went away without coming into the house of Pandavas. In this way, the Pandavas were saved from a wrath of Durvasa. Duryodhana had sent them because he knew that since the Pandavas would not be able to receive such a large number, Durvasa will become angry and the Pandavas would be cursed. But Krishna saved them from his calamity by his trick and his all cognizant quality. Ever fresh. Krishna is always remembered and his name is always chanted by millions of devotees, but the devotees never become saturated. Instead of becoming disinterested in thinking of Krishna and in chanting his holy name, the devotees get newer and newer impetuous to continue the process. Therefore, Krishna is ever fresh. Not only Krishna himself, but also Krishna's knowledge is ever fresh. Bhagavad Gita, which was imparted 5,000 years ago, is still being read repeatedly by many, many men, and still new light is always being found in it. Therefore, Krishna and his name, fame, qualities, and everything is in relationship with him is ever fresh. All the queens of Dwaraka were goddesses of fortune. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 11th chapter, verse 33, that the goddesses of fortune are very fickle and restless, so no one can constantly captivate them. Thus, one's luck will always change sometime. Yet the goddesses of fortune could never leave Krishna for a moment when they were residing with him in Dwaraka. This means that Krishna's attraction is ever fresh. Even the goddesses of fortune cannot leave his company. Regardless of Krishna's attractive features being ever fresh, there's a statement by Radha Rani in Lalita Madhava in which Krishna is compared to the greatest sculptor because he is experting in chiselizing and chastity of women. In other words, although chaste women may follow the rules and regulation of Vedic principles to become ever faithful to their husbands, Krishna is able to break the stone-like chastity with the chisel of his beauty. Most of the girlfriends of Krishna were married, but Krishna was their friend before their marriages. They could not forget his attractive features, which were always fascinating to them even after their marriages. Satchidananda Vigraha. Krishna's transcendental body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Sat means ever existing for all time in all places, and in other words, all pervading in time and space. Chit means full of knowledge. Krishna has nothing to learn from anyone. He is independently full of knowledge. Ananda means reservoir of all pleasures. The impersonalistics are seeking to merge into a Brahman effulgence of eternity and knowledge. But the major portion of the absolute pleasure, which is in Krishna, is avoiding by them. One can enjoy the transcendental blissfulness of merging into a Brahman effulgence after being freed from the contamination of material illusion, false identification, attachment, detachment, uh, and material absorption. These are the preliminary qualifications of a person who can realize Brahmana. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that one has to become full of joyness. This is not exactly joyfulness, but a sense of freedom from all anxieties. Freedom from all anxieties may be the first principles of joyfulness, but it is not actually joyfulness. Those who realize the self or become Brahmana Bhuta are only preparing themselves for the platform of joyfulness. That joyfulness can actually be achieved only when one comes into contact with Krishna. Krishna consciousness is so complete that it includes the transcendental pleasure derived from the impersonal or Brahman realizations. Even the impersonalistics will become attracted to the personal form of Krishna, known as Shama Sundara. It is confirmed by the statement of Brahmana Samhita that a Brahman effulgence is the bodily ray of Krishna. The Brahman effulgence is simply an exhibition of the energy of Krishna. Krishna is the source of the Brahman effulgence, as he himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita. From this, we can conclude that the impersonal features of the absolute truth is not ultimate end. Krishna is the ultimate end of the absolute truth. The members of the Vaishnava schools therefore never try to merge into Brahman effulgence in their pursuit of spiritual perfection. They accept Krishna as the ultimate goal of self-realization. Therefore, Krishna is called Parabrahma, the Supreme Brahman, or the Parameshwara, the Supreme Controller. Sri Yamunacharya has prayed as follows: My dear Lord, I know that the gigantic universe and gigantic space and time within the universe are covered by the 10 layers of material elements, each layer 10 times larger than the previous one. The three material modes of nature, the Garbha, Doka, Sai, Vishnu, the Shirodaka, Sai, Vishnu, and the Mahavishnu, the beyond them is the spiritual sky and its spiritual planets known as Vaikunthas. The Brahman effulgence is the spiritual sky. All of these taken together are nothing but small exhibition of your potency, possessing all mystic perfections. There are many standards of perfection. The highest material perfection obtained by perfect yogis are listed as 8: to become the smallest of the small, to become the greatest of the great, etc. All of these material perfections as well as the spiritual perfections can be fully found in Krishna personality. Krishna's inconceivable potencies.
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable
You're
potencies.
reading certain mistakes for what do you say? Brahma Samhita. Whatever you're reading for this?
Brahma Samhita.
Hmm?
Brahma Samhita.
Yes.
Krishna's inconceivable potencies. Krishna is present everywhere, not only within the universe, not only within the hearts of all living entities, but also within every atom. In the prayers of Lord Kunti, we find mention of this inconceivable potency of Krishna. While Krishna was talking with Kunti, he simultaneously entered the womb of Uttara, who was in danger due to atomic weapon of Ashwathama. Krishna can illusion even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, and he can protect all surrendered devotees from reactions of sinful activities. There are some of the examples of his inconceivable potencies. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore offers his obeisances onto Krishna by saying, Krishna, who is present as a human being, has as his mere shadow the whole material nature. He has expanded himself into so many cows, cars, and cowherd boys, and he had again manifested himself in all 400 Narayana. He has taught millions of Brahmans self-realization, and thus he is worshipable not only by the hands of the universe, but by everyone else too. Everyone else also. Therefore, let me accept him as the supreme personality of Godhead. When Indra was defeated by Krishna in the matter of taking the Parijata planet from the heaven, Parijata plant from the heaven, Narada met Indra and criticized him. O Indra, great king of heaven, Krishna has already defeated Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. So what can be said of an insignificant demigod like you? Narada Muni, of course, was criticizing Indra jokingly, and Indra enjoyed it. In Narada's statement, it was confirmed that Krishna was able to illusion even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva as well as Indra. So there is no question of Krishna's power to do the same to lesser living entities. A description of Krishna's power is minimizing the suffering of sinful reactions is given in Brahma Samhita as follows. Beginning from the greatest king of heaven down to the ant, everyone is undergoing the reactions of past deeds. But a devotee of Krishna is relieved from such reactions by the grace of Krishna. This was clearly proved when Krishna went to the place of Yamaraja, the Lord of Death, to reclaim the dead son of his teacher. Krishna's teacher had requested Krishna to bring back his dead son, and to do so, Krishna went back to the place of Yamaraja to claim a soul who had been bought there by Yamaraja and was being kept under his control. Krishna immediately ordered Yamaraja, be benefited by my order and returns that soul unto me. The purport of this incident is not even a person who is under a regulative principles of law of nature and who is therefore punishable by Yamaraja under these laws can be granted complete immunity by the grace of Krishna. Krishna's inconceivable potencies have been described by Sukadeva Goswami as follows. Krishna is bewildering my intelligence because although he is unborn, he has appeared as the son of Nanda Maharaja. He is all pervading, but still he is held on the lap of Yashoda. In spite of his being all pervasive, he has become limited by the love of Yashoda. Although he has innumerable forms, still he is moving as one Krishna before his father and mother. Sorry, Mataji. Nanda and Yashoda in the Brahmana Samhita also it is said that although Krishna is eternally living in Golaka Vrindavana, his transcendental abode, he is still present everywhere within every atom.
Hare Krishna. Somebody else can start reading.
May I read? Krishna's body generates innumerable universes. In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 11 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma says, "My dear Lord, false ego, intelligence, mind, sky, fire, water, and earth are the material ingredients of this universe, which can be compared to a gigantic pot. In that gigantic pot, my body is of insignificant measurement, and even though one of the many universes created by me, innumerable universes are coming and going from the pores of your body, just as atomic particles are seen flickering in the sunlight. I think I am very insignificant before you, and I am therefore begging your pardon. Please be merciful towards me. If one takes account of only one universe, he will find so many combinations of wonderful things within, because there are innumerable planets, innumerable residences, places of demigods. The diameter of the universe is 4 billion miles. It is infested with many unfathomable regions known as patalas or lower planetary systems. Although Krishna is the origin of all this, he can always be seen in Vindavana exhibiting his inconceivable potencies. So, who can adequately worship such an all powerful Lord possessed of such inconceivable energy? The original source of all incarnations. Jayadeva Goswami in his Gita Govinda has sung as follows: The Lord has saved the Vedas in the form as a fish. He has borne the whole universe on his back in the form of a tortoise. He has picked up this earthly planet from the water in the form of a boar. He has killed Hiranyakashipu in the form of Narasimha. He has cheated Maharaja Bali in the form of Krishna. He has deceived Devotee in the form of Vindavana. He has deceived Devotee in the form of Vindavana.
You're not audible, Rachita.
Shall I continue, Mataji?
Yes, continue.
He has inherited all the dynasties of the Kshatriyas in a form of Parasuna. He has killed all the demons in a form of Lord Rama. He has accepted the great law in the form of Balrama. He has annihilated and all the enthusiastic person in a form of Kalika, and he has saved all the poor animals in a form of Lord Bull. These
Mataji,
are some of the description.
Yes, Rachita.
Yeah.
thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Thank you, Vaibhav. Yeah, she'll continue.
Thank you, Vaibhav Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji.
They are some of the descriptions of the incarnations emanating from Krishna And from Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that innumerable incarnations are always coming out from the body of Krishna, just like waves in the ocean. No one can even count how many waves there are. And similarly, no one can count how many incarnations are coming from the Lord's body. All the incarnations of Godhead are described in the author's Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 3. Krishna gives salvation to all the enemies that he kills. Another name for salvation is Apavarga. Apavarga is the opposite of Pavarga, or all the various miserable conditions of material existence. The word Pavarga indicates the combination of five Sanskrit letters Pa, Bha, 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 and Ma. These letters are the first letters of the word Prabhava, which means a defeat. In this material struggle for existence, we are all simply meeting defeat. Actually, we have to conquer birth, death, disease, and old age because there is no possibility of overcoming all these miserable conditions due to the illusion of Maya. We are simply meeting with Parabhava or defeat. The next letter Fa is taken from the word Fena. Fena is the foam which is found in the mouth when one is very tired, as commonly observed with horses. The letter Bha comes from bandha or bondage. Bha is taken from the word bhiti or fearfulness, and Ma is taken from the word mriti, death, or the word pravarga. It signifies a struggle for existence and meeting our defeat, exhaustion, bondage, fearfulness, and at last death. Aparivarga means that which can nullify all of these material conditions. Krishna is said to be the giver of Aparivarga, the path of liberation. For the impersonalists and enemies of Krishna, liberation means merging into the Supreme. The demons and the impersonalists do not care for Krishna, but Krishna is so kind that he gives this liberation even to his enemies. To the impersonalists, there is the following statement in this connection. Oh Murari, how wonderful it is that although the demons who were always envious of the demigods have failed to penetrate your military flanks, which they have penetrated the region of Mitra, the sun globe. The word Mitra is used metaphorically. Mitra means the sun globe, and Mitra also means friend. So the demons who opposed Krishna, his enemies, wanted to penetrate his military flanks, but instead of doing this, they died in a battle, and the result was that they penetrated the planet of Mitra or the sun planet. In other words, they entered into the Brahman effulgence. The example of the sun planet is given here because the sun is ever illuminating like the spiritual sky, where there are innumerable illuminating Vaikuntha planets. The enemies of Krishna were killed. Instead of penetrating Krishna's flanks, and they entered into the friendly atmosphere of the spiritual effulgence. So this is the mercy of Krishna, and therefore he is known as a deliverer of his enemies also. The attractor of liberated souls. There are many examples of how Krishna attracted even great liberated souls like Sukadeva Goswami and the Kumaras. In this connection, the following statement was given by Kumaras. How wonderful it is that although we are completely liberated, free from desire, and situated at the stage of Parahamsa, we are still aspiring to taste the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Perform wonderful activities. In the Brihad Vamana Purana, the Lord says, although I have many fascinating pastimes, whenever I think of the Ras Leela, which I perform with the gopis, I become eager to have it again. One devotee has said, I know about Narayana, the husband of the goddess of fortune. And I also know about many other incarnations of the Lord. Certainly, all the pastimes of such incarnations are exciting to my mind, but still the pastimes of Rasa Leela performed by the Lord by Lord Krishna himself are wonderfully increase my transcendental pleasure. Krishna is surrounded by loving devotees. When we speak of Krishna, Krishna is not alone. Krishna means his name, qualities, fame, friends, his paraphernalia, his entourage. All of these are included. When we speak of a king, it is to be understood that he is surrounded by ministers, secretaries, military commanders, and many other people. Similarly, Krishna is not impersonal. In his Vindavana Leela, especially, he is surrounded by the gopis, the cowherd boys, his father, his mother, and all the inhabitants of Vindavana. In the 10th canto, 31st chapter, verse 15 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the gopis lament, "My dear Krishna, during the daytime when you go out into the forest of Vindavana with your cows, we consider one moment to be 12 years. It is difficult for us to pass the time. And again, when you come back at the end of the day, by seeing your beautiful face, we are so much attracted that we are unable to stop looking upon you constantly. At these times when there's occasionally blinking of our eyelids, we condemn the Creator, Lord Brahma, as dunce because he does not know how to make perfect eyes. In other words, the gopis were disturbed by the blinking of the eyes because of the moment that the eyes were closed, they could not see Krishna. This means that the gopis' love for Krishna was so great and ecstatic that they were disturbed by even his momentary absence. But when they saw Krishna, they were all disturbed. This is a paradox. One gopi expressing herself to Krishna says, "When we meet you at night and consider the duration of night to be very small, and why speak of only this night? Even if we had a night of Brahma, we would consider it a very short time." We get an idea of Brahma's duty from the following statement of Bhagavad Gita 8.17.
Namaste.
8.17. Thank you, Prasid Prabhuji. By human calculation, 1,000 yoga cycles taken together in Brahma's one day, and such also the duration of his night. The gopis said that even if they could have that duration of night, it would still not be sufficient for the meeting with Krishna. So this is the calculation of Brahma's lifetime. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, somebody else can continue.
Mataji,
Hare
I would
Krishna
like to
Mataji.
Yes.
Mataji, I would like to ask you
Yes.
how Krishna, he is an epitome of love, is so merciful to even his own enemies who tried to kill him.
He is all merciful, no? Because he has given liberation to all the people. You have seen that Shishupala and all those people who have abused Krishna also. See, actually, they were in the previous birth, they are devotees of Krishna. Because of some curse, they will be born in that, what do you say, abusing character. So Krishna knows everything. Maybe that particular person or devotee who is present in that particular generation may not know about his past time, but Lord knows all about them. That's how they are all liberated. You take Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, they are all Jaya Vijaya of Vaikuntha Dwarapalaka, isn't it?
Yes,
Similarly, yeah, even the Shishupala is one of the form of Jaya Vijaya. So likewise, they are all
But
very great.
Mataji, why that Krishna come in a human form to kill all these people? Then if they are so merciful, then
See, one thing in a day-to-day life, I can say like refreshment training. So you will have the core subject, you might have expertise in that at one point of time, but you need repeated trainings and refreshment to keep it up with the logistics or whatever the technology or whatever the knowledge we have acquired at that particular period of time, isn't it? Similarly, Krishna has laid on all the principles at the beginning of this, what do you say, the universe, when the mankind has started and all. But sometimes he need to come to recorrect if any difficult situation come. So like he says in Bhagavad Gita that he has imparted the same knowledge to sun god, and from sun god to the the Manu and Ikshvaku and all those things. But somewhere this disciplinic succession got lost. So whenever he feel there is a decline in this religion and rise of adharma, then he comes to recorrect everything.
But Mataji, matlab, in the Kali Yuga, why did Sri Krishna come in the form of Shri Venkatesha in Tirupati? Why did he come? And why did Lakshmi Mata had come in the form of as a daughter of Lord sage Bhrigu?
There is some meaning. Is see, Kali Yuga is all the dharma is on only on the single leg, isn't it? So there is lot of chaotic situation. You are seeing the biological war. What's for the past 2 years you are seeing the corona war. The China people have spread across the globe, isn't it? It is not less than the world war, isn't it?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. So all this, so many things. The financial crisis is there. The fuel prices have gone up. Irreligion and clashes between the religions. So much things are there. So once the calamity is, everything is there, Lord will come. He will be there and he will set right everything. Then he will come as a new avatar. So that cycle goes on.
Okay, Mataji, but Mother Sage Bhrigu had actually insulted Lakshmi by kicking Lord Narayan's chest. But why did she come as his daughter? Because she was hurt by that gesture of Lord Narayana.
Only for our understanding, these people have insulted us. These people didn't treat us and all those things, you know. But for the incarnation, there is a higher purpose than which is beyond our human reception.
Okay, but the enemies that Shri Krishna had killed, so did they get a place in one of the spiritual planets, or they were in the spiritual sky?
They are back to their place actually. Say suppose Jaya and Vijaya, they went back to Vaikunta.
Okay. Okay, Mataji. And even I had heard Sri Dharma was also an intimate devotee of Lord Krishna, and he had cursed Radha Rani that they would separate for 100 years. Is that true? And he was
Whatever said and done, they are all in the Krishna's abode. No, they are all in Goloka, isn't it? See,
Yes,
the suffering and this feelings and whatever we are discussing is only related to the material world in which we are there.
I didn't understand much.
This body, what is there, it is temporary. So whatever the feeling, the reaction, it is all the your intelligence, false ego, and mind is playing all these things. Nothing to do with the body.
Okay.
Got it?
So was Sridhama born again as an Asura?
What? No, not like that. Sridham, whatever suffering is there, you are telling that is only pertaining to the body itself. It is in the day-to-day affair. But on the higher purpose, they are elevated individual. With why they have come to the human form? All of us have come to this human form to complete our suffering, isn't it?
Yes, Mataji.
Similarly, they had incurred a good amount of a good karma, but at the same time, to finish off the remaining little bit of karma, which is specific for that individual body, they will forego that and they will, they have to take that punishment at any cost. So once they finish it off, then as per the intimate relationship with the Lord, they will go to that particular spiritual planet.
Okay, Mataji. I have understood it. I have understood, Mataji.
Yeah. So in 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna will say, no, those who think of me will come to me. But those who think of demigods will go to demigods. It's all the person's remembrance of a Lord at the time of leaving his body. Before that, how he is spending the whole life in the relationship with the Lord, that also matters. Suddenly at the time of death, it is very, very difficult to remember Lord, unless you put it in a practice, isn't it?
Yes, Mataji, absolutely.
Every day we are greeting each other, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So many times you are getting, suddenly in a difficult situation, we may not remember it unless it comes in a regular practice.
Okay, Mataji. Yeah.
Yeah, I can give you an example of a, say, suppose marathon athletics. So suddenly there is a 10-kilometer run is there. A person who haven't taken at least 100 steps a day, can he go for a marathon? No, na?
No.
So see, so you need certain amount of a practice. Daily schedule should be there. Your physic, maintenance, food, diet, everything is there, isn't it? Then that person can take a marathon of 15 to 20 kilometers also, isn't it? Similarly,
Yes,
bhakti
Mataji.
also, it has to be like a marathon, it has to go on a regular basis.
Okay, Mataji. So it's a matter of practice.
Yes, practice, and as you do the Krishna consciousness activity, you will come to know. See, you take about yourself only. When you have joined in the month of October, what knowledge you had then, and after 6 months, what knowledge you are having now. There is a huge difference between these two, isn't it?
Yes, Mataji, absolutely.
Yeah, because in the beginning we are like a neophyte devotees. You were just inquisitive to know about it. But now you wanted to know more about Krishna. You have a little bit base knowledge about Bhagavad Gita. What exactly are the chapters? What exactly are the slokas? And what is the gist of it? And step by step, step by step. Now, if anybody is asking a question, you people are in a position to help them out, isn't it?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah.
So how many number of rounds we do? So that in a way we are practicing the remembrance of Lord Krishna.
Yes. Yes.
I even actually never thought I could chant the Bhagavad Gita shlokas on every Ekadasi. I never expected that. I always wanted to, but I never expected that these sessions will be conducted every Ekadasi and will meet each other and will, recite. So it's all a mercy of Krishna. I won't say
Krishna.
it's a coincidence. It is a mercy of Krishna.
It's a
You
mercy.
want it, Krishna will give you.
Krishna's mercy, Namanishna's Prabhuji's, what do you say, blessings. So that he has given us a platform, That is the reason why I'm asking all you people who are there in the group, please join, please join. Why? Because इतना free में कहीं नहीं मिलता, कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Mataji, it means from a neophyte devotee to a journey of a till the last. We have to remember Krishna, then only we will be surrendered to Krishna.
The process itself will purify you, Vaibhav. You need not do anything. Whatever has been set, no, the guidelines, if you follow that regularly, the chanting, getting up early in the morning, attending the Mangalarti, finishing off the rounds, doing your regular work, automatically the process itself will make you purify all those things. See, now we are reading the 64 characters of Krishna. Before this NOD, maybe vaguely somebody remembers, but now if anyone asks you what are the how many qualities of Krishna is there, all of you will say 64, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes,
Maybe
Mataji.
you will remember certain things. So that is the power of what is say being in step by step. Krishna will take you into everything which is required for you to progress further. Okay, Hare Krishna. Somebody can read, ma.
Shall I continue, Mataji?
Yes.
Krishna attractive flute in the 10th canto, 35th chapter, verse 15 of Srimad Bhagavatam. The gopis tell Mother Yashoda, when your son plays on his flute, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Indra, although they are supposed to be the greatest learned scholars and personalities, all become bewildered. Although they are all very great personalities, by hearing the sound of Krishna flute, they humbly bow down and become grave from starting the sound vibrated. In the book Vida Gada Madhava, Sri Rupa Goswami thus describes the vibration of Krishna flute. The sound vibration created by the flute of Krishna wonderfully stopped Lord Shiva from playing his Dindima drum, and the same flute has caused great sages like the four Kumaras to become distributed in their meditation. It is called Lord Brahma, who was sitting on the lotus flower for the creative function to become astonished, and Anantadeva, who was calmly holding all the planets on his hood, was moving in this way, and that due to the transcendental vibration from Krishna flute, which penetrated through the covering of the universe and reached to the spiritual sky. Krishna, equity, beauty. In the third canto, second chapter, verse 12 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Uddhav tell Vidura, my dear sir, Krishna form was most wonderful when he appeared on the planet and exhibited the potency of his eternal energy. His wonderfully attractive from form was present during his pastimes on this planet, and by his eternal potency, he exhibited his opulences, which are striking to everyone. His personal beauty was so great that there was no necessity of his wearing ornaments on his beauty. In fact, instead of the ornaments beautifying Krishna, Krishna beauty enhanced the ornaments. Regarding the attractiveness of Krishna bodily, beauty and the sound vibration of his flute, in the 10th canto, 29th chapter, verse 40 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Gopi address Krishna as follows. Although our attitude towards you resemble loving affairs with a pramya, we cannot but wonder at how no man can maintain a chastity upon hearing the vibration from your flute. And not only women, but even strong hearted men are subject to falling down from their position at the sound of your flute. In fact, we have seen that Vindavana, even the cow, deer, the birds, the trees, everyone has been enchanted by the sweet vibration of a flute and the fascinating beauty of a person. In Rupa Goswami Lalita Madhava, it is said, one day Krishna happened to see the shadow of his beautiful form reflected on the jewel foreground. Upon seeing his bodily reflection, he expressed his feelings. How wonderful it is that I have never seen a such beautiful form, although it is my own form, still like Radharani. I am trying to embrace this form and enjoy celestial bliss. This statement shows how Krishna and his shadow, reflection, and one at the same. There is no difference between Krishna and his shadow reflection, nor between Krishna and his pictures. This is the transcendental position of Krishna. The above statement describes some of the wonderful reservoirs of pleasure within Krishna, as well as the transcendental qualities of his personality. The transcendental quality of Krishna are compared to the ocean. No one can estimate the length and the breadth of the ocean, but as one can understand the ocean content simply by testing one drop of it, so these statements will give you some understanding of Krishna's transcendental position and qualities. In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 7 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma says, my dear Lord, the inconceivable qualities, beauties, and achievements which you have revealed by your presence on this planet cannot be calculated by any material measurements. If one even tries to imagine Krishna may be like this, that is also impossible. The day may come when the material scientist, after many births or after many years, will be able to estimate the atomic constitution of the whole world, or he may be able to count the atomic fragments that permeate the sky, or he may even give an estimate for all the atoms within the universe. But still, he has never been able to count the transcendental qualities in your reservoir of transcendental bliss. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So we have completed 64 qualities of Krishna. Just remember that if you have time, please try to read about it. Okay.
If possible, could you just share a picture of the 64 qualities of Krishna? If you have that picture, you can send it on WhatsApp. If you have it, that's okay.
Okay. Shall we read this lesson 23?
Yes,
Krishna,
Mataji.
it's a small one only. Somebody else can read.
Mataji, may I read?
I think there are other participants who haven't read today. Prasid and Saujanya are there.
Yes, Mataji, may I continue?
Yes.
Krishna's personality, Srila Rupa Goswami states that although Lord Sri Krishna is the reservoir of unlimited pleasure and the greatest leader of all, he is still dependent upon his devotees in three ways. According to the emotional status of the devotee, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is appreciated in three ways: as the most perfect, as very perfect, and as perfect. When he exhibits himself in fullness, he is appreciated by great learned scholars as most perfect. When he exhibits himself in lesser degrees, he is called very perfect. And when he exhibits still less, he is called perfect. This means that Krishna is appreciated for the three degrees. These three degrees of perfection are especially exhibited as follows. When he is in Goloka Vrindavana, his transcendental qualities are exhibited as most perfect. When he is in Dwaraka, he exhibits his qualities as very perfect. And when he is in Mathura, he exhibits his qualities as perfect. Krishna's personality is analyzed as Dhirodatta, Dhira Lalita, Dhira Prashanta, and Dhirodatta. If one asks how a personality can be beheld in four quite opposing ways, the answer is that Lord is the reservoir of all transcendental qualities and activities. Therefore, his different aspects can be analyzed according to the exhibition of his limitless variety of pastimes, and as such, there is no contradiction. Dhirodatta. A Dhirodatta is a person who is naturally very grave, gentle, forgiving, merciful, determined, humble, highly qualified, chivalrous, and physically attractive. In this connection, the following statement given by Indra, the king of heaven, is very significant. My dear Lord, I admit that I have committed great offenses unto you, but I cannot express my feelings of regret. Being bewildered at seeing your extraordinary chivalrous spirit, your endeavor to protect your devotees, your determination. Mataji, can you scroll up? Your steadiness in lifting the great hill of Govardhana, your beautiful body features, and your astonishing characteristic of being pleased simply by accepting the prayers of your devotees and offenders. The above statement by the King of Heaven is an exact corroboration of Krishna's being Dhirodatta. Many learned scholars have agreed to also accept Lord Ramachandra as Dhirodatta, but all of Lord Ramachandra's qualities are also included in the character of Lord Sri Krishna. Dhira Lalita. A person is called Dhira Lalita if he is naturally very funny, always in full youthfulness, expert in joking, and free from all anxieties. Such a Dhira Lalita personality is generally found to be domesticated and very submissive to his lover. This Dhira Lalita trait in the personality of Krishna is described by Yajna Patni, the wife of one of the Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices in Vindavana. She tells her friends, one day Srimati Radharani, accompanied by her associates, was taking rest in her garden, and at the time Lord Sri Krishna, his previous night's pastimes with Radharani, at that time Lord Sri Krishna arrived in that assembly. After sitting down, he began to narrate very impudently about his previous night's pastimes with Radharani. While he was speaking in that way, Radharani became very embarrassed. She was feeling ashamed and was absorbed in the thought, and Krishna took the opportunity to mark her breast with different kinds of tilaka. Krishna proved himself to be very expert in that art. In this way, Krishna, as Dhira Lalita, was enjoying his youthful proclivities in the company of the gopis. Generally, those who are expert in writing drama choose to call Cupid the ideal Dhira Lalita, but we can more perfectly find in the personality of Krishna all the characteristics of Dhira Lalita. Dhira Prashanta. A person who is very peaceful, forbearing, considerate, and obliging is called Dhira Prashanta. This Dhira Prashanta trait of Krishna was exhibited in his dealings with the Pandavas. On account of the Pandavas' faithful devotion to the Lord, he agreed to become their charioteer, their advisor, their friend, their messenger, and sometimes their bodyguard. Such is an example of the result of devotional service towards when speaking to Maharaj using principles. He
Hare Krishna. Somebody else can read. Meanwhile,
May I continue, Mataji?
yes.
A person who is very peaceful, forbidding, considerate, and obliging is called Dhira Prashanta. This Dhira Prashanta
as Dhira Prashanta. Dhirodatta.
Your voice is breaking in between. I'm not able to hear.
Mataji,
Continue, Dhirodatta.
Dhirodatta. A person who is very envious, proud, easily angered, restless, and complacent is called Dhirodatta. By learned scholars, such qualities were visible in the character of Lord Krishna, because when he was writing letter to
Kalavayana.
Kalavayana, Krishna addressed him as a sinful frog. In his letter, Krishna advised Kalavayana that he should immediately go and find some dark well for his residence, because there was a black snake named Krishna who was very eager to devour all such sinful frogs. Krishna reminded Kalyavana that he could turn all the universes to ashes simply by looking at him. The above statement by Krishna seems apparently to be of an envious nature, but considering the different pastimes, places, and times, this quality is accepted as a great characteristic. Krishna's Dhirodatta quality have been accepted as great because Krishna uses them only to protect his devotees. In other words, even undesirable threats may also be used in the exchange of devotional service. Sometimes Bhima, the second brother of Pandava, is also described as Dhirodatta. Once while fighting with a demon who was appearing as a deer, Krishna challenged him in this way: I have come before you as a great elephant named Krishna. You must leave the battlefield accepting defeat, or else there is death awaiting you. This challenging spirit of Krishna is not contradictory to his sublime character, because he is the supreme being. Everything is possible in his character. There is a nice statement in Kurma Purana about these contradictory traits of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated there that the Supreme Personality is neither very fat nor very thin. He is always transcendental to material qualities, and yet his bodily luster is blackish. His eyes is reddish. He is all powerful, and he is equipped with all different kinds of opulences. Contradictory traits in Krishna's person is not at all surprising. One should not consider the characteristics of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be actually contradictory. One should try to understand the traits of Krishna from the authorities and try to understand how these characteristics are employed by the supreme will of the Lord. In the Varaha Purana, it is confirmed that the transcendental bodies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his expansions are all existing eternally. Such bodies are never material. They are completely spiritual and full of knowledge. They are reservoirs of all transcendental qualities. The Vishnu Yamala Tantra, there is a statement that because of personality of Godhead and his expanded bodies are always full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. They are always free from the 18 kinds of material contaminations: illusion, fatigue, errors, roughness, material lust, restlessness, pride, envy, violence, disgrace, exhaustion, untruth, anger, hankering, dependence, desire to Lord over the universe, seeing duality and cheating. Regarding all the above mentioned statements, it is understood that the Mahavishnu is the source of all incarnations in the material world, but because of his greater extraordinary opulence, we can understand that the son of Nanda Maharaja is the source of the Lord Vishnu also. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, wherein it is stated, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Govinda, whose partial representation is the Mahavishnu. The Gangetic form of the Mahavishnu is the source of generation for innumerable universes. Innumerable universes are coming out of his exhaling breath, and the same universes are going back in which is inhaling breath. This Mahavishnu is also a planary portion of a Krishna portion, also a planary portion of Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So tomorrow we'll continue with chapter 24 for the traits of Sri Krishna.
Mataji, you asked me to present my PPT.
Not now, Ma. It is very late. Okay.
Okay, Mataji.
Anybody is ready with the presentations apart from Sai Gitika?
Mataji, today my exams are over, so please tell about the PPTs and all.
I think I have shared it in the group.
Okay, ma'am.
You are there in that level 3 youth participants, Vaibhav. I think Vaishnavi has added you.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
is there.
Mataji.
Yeah. If you have a presentation, we'll try to log in 15 minutes before, not to avoid more time, so that we can have class. At the same time, we can go to the presentations also.
Yes, Mataji. And Vaishnavi Mataji.
And Mataji, which type of PPT we have to make for the Ekadashi?
PPT, I'll send you. Okay. Upcoming, you have a Vaishnava calendar in your phone?
It's on the
Date, I will forward him.
it's on the 12th, you know.
It's on 10th.
Okay.
Is it possible? Can you please help me, Vaishnavi Mataji,
Yeah, I'll call you and tell you.
after this class?
Yeah.
Mother, should I do the Narasimha
Yes. Anybody is ready with the presentation apart from Sai Gitika?
No, Mataji.
No.
No.
One more thing, Mataji. I won't be able to join the class because of some function.
Pardon?
Won't be able to join the class tomorrow because of some function in our family.
Okay. Okay. No problem. So, Sai Gitika, at the end of the session, we'll see a presentation. Okay.
And Vaishnavi Mataji, can you tell me what are the remaining chapters for the next Ekadashi?
I haven't made the list yet, Mataji. Mataji, what about the Google Forms?
I don't know. Devika Mataji, she shared me on that particular day. And she has sent it for approval for Namanishtas Prabhuji. Once approval come, I think we will share it. Otherwise, we will go like how we are going every time. Okay?
Mataji, you were saying something about Ekadashi presentation. What is it, Mataji?
No, that every time Vaishnavi prepares a presentation, no, it's all about that.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Rachita, you can conclude with the Narasimha.
Okay, Mataji. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladladayayini. Hiranyakashi Vakshaha. Shilatanka Nakhalahe. Yato Nasingha Parato Nasingha. Yato Yam Nitato Nasingha. Pahe Nasingha Hridaye Nasingha. Nasingha Prapade Sharanam. Prapade Tava Karakamalavare. Nakam Adbhuta Shingam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadita Narahari Upa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Narsingadev Jai Narsingadev Jayo
Narasimhadev,
Narasimhadev,
Jaya
Jayo
Narasimhadev,
Narasimhadev,
Jaya
Jaya Palat
Jaya
Narasimha, Jaya Palat
Prabhupada,
Narasimha,
Prabhupada,
Narasimha, Jaya Jaya
Prabhupada, Jaya
Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Narasimhadev ki jai.
Jai.
जय नरसिंह की जय.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Thank you, co-host and participant, for your active participation. See you all tomorrow at 8 p.m. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.